Hi, everybody. I'm Samuel Smith. I'm one of the pastors at Hope City in Kansas City. I just really want to share my stories with you all, a piece of my testimony. I was raised and born in Kansas City, Missouri. And I spent 90-something% of my life on the east side, growing up. Most of my family raised in the same area geographically. And I probably have a story similar to some of you. Growing up on the east side of Kansas City, at a really young age, I was introduced to drugs and gangs and a life of crime. Some people in some places, when they hear stories like my story, they think, well, at some point, this person, I guess, maybe they had it good, maybe they didn't have it good, but they wanted to join a gang. But it wasn't really like that for me. It was more so like I was born into it. I wasn't looking for it. I wasn't searching for it. I was kind of born into it. At the age 8 years old, I remember throwing up gang signs on my finger because we become what we behold. And I was looking at those around me, looking at my older cousins, looking at, the people in my community, in my neighborhood, and I started imitating what it was that I was seeing. So if they were throwing up gang signs, then I was throwing up gang signs. I was twisting and turning my fingers and wanting to be just like them. And the thing about it, that dream, I guess, that I had as a boy, it became true. Where at first it wasn't really real. I just was imitating. I just was throwing up gang signs and I was just imitating what it was that I was seeing. And I guess dreaming about becoming that. But lo and behold, I became exactly that. The same bondage that they were in, I end up walking into. That's where it went from me just pretending to gang banging, doing what my older cousins was doing, to I was actually gang banging. I was actually willing to give my life for that street or that neighborhood that I was raised in. In shootouts, being shot at, on the other side of the gun at a really young age. I ended up doing drugs. Smoking weed is how it started. Then it went from smoking weed to, smoking cigarettes. It went to smoking cigarettes to friends and people in my neighborhood, they're popping fizz pills. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm not going to pop no pills. Smoke a little weed, smoke some cigarettes, but you'll never catch me popping a pill. Never catch me popping a fizz pill, ecstasy. Never catch me popping a Molly. What happened? And some of y'all can relate to this. What happened? I end up popping Mollies. I end up popping fizz pills. After popping fizz pills, cocaine was beginning to be popular in my neighborhood. What'd I say to myself? No, never gonna catch me snorting cocaine. Never gonna catch me putting that powder up my nose. What ended up happening? I end up snorting cocaine, right? It started off that way. First, I'm imitating what I'm seeing other people do around me. I'm throwing up gang signs, but it's nothing really serious about it. And then next thing you know, I'm actually throwing these gang signs up for real. I'm really gang banging. I'm actually in a mix. My life is actually really on the line. I actually have to stand on what it is that I'm claiming to be about. Then what happened? I'm smoking weed. Then I'm smoking cigarettes. Then I'm never going to pop pills. Next thing you know, I'm popping pills. Never going to snort cocaine. Not me. Then I'm snorting cocaine. I'm ripping. I'm running the streets. And now I'm living a life of crime. In my youth, 14, 15 years old, no longer staying with my mother. I'm in dope houses. I'm ripping and running the streets. I'm on this couch. I'm on that couch. I'm on this pissy mattress. I'm on this dirty rug. And it was normal to me. I lost this friend. After I lost that friend, I turned around and I lost this friend. I buried him and then I buried somebody else. And that was normal to me. And just as it was normal to me, I'm sure you who are watching can relate. It was probably normal to you. Maybe you're in a place in life where it's still normal to you. You don't see it changing. You're in prison, maybe for a really long time. Maybe one day you're going to get out and you think, even when I get out, these things are probably going to be still normal to me. But what I'm telling you is that I found out that it wasn't normal. Drugs and chaos and drama, doing drugs, selling drugs to my aunties, selling drugs to my uncle. It was normal to me as a kid, getting a dope pack, some crack, and then going to one of my uncles and giving him a little bit of it for free, just so he can try it out for me. He'd do it in front of my face. My uncle would look at his nephew, who was in his early teens. He would get crack for me. He would then do the crack in front of me and then tell me if it was good or not. Or I would just see his response after he hit the pipe, and then I probably would know for myself whether it was good or not. That was normal to me. It's not normal. It's not okay, but it was. And so I lived like that. Most of my young life, I end up, going to detention, been in and out of detention, going to jail, getting sent off to a state facility somewhere far away from where I lived, a couple hours away from home. And it was normal to me. All the while these things are happening in my life, seeds were being planted at the same time. God was pursuing me. Even in chaos, even in trouble, even in drama, even in sexual immorality, even in being a gang member. God was pursuing me. Even in a time of my life when all that I was doing was not okay, but I thought it was okay, God was planting seeds. He was after me. He wanted me. He desired me. And just the same, trust me, he's pursuing you. He wants you. He's after you. And so I was hearing the gospel. Jesus. I believed in Jesus, but I was not living my life for Jesus. And to speed up my story for you all who are listening to me right now, it wasn't until I didn't fully surrender until I was 20 years old. And it was after I walked into a place that I work at now called Hope City. And I walked into this prayer house. And I began to meet some of the people who worked at the house of prayer where I am right now. And they began to minister to me. And it was through building relationships with some of the people who was willing to minister to me, willing to share their story with me, and willing to allow me to come into this house of worship, where God began to take those seeds that was planted in me. They was dormant, but nevertheless, they were in me. And he began to bring forth increase. He began to wake me up. And the seeds that is planted in your life right now. And maybe some of you believe right now, and maybe some of you will end up watching my testimony and hearing what I'm saying right now. And maybe those seeds that are planted will begin to wake up in you. Maybe it's in this season of your life while you're listening to my story, my testimony, that God is wanting to bring forth increase in your life. And so it was in that season of my life, 20 years old, after living a reckless life, chaos, drama, drugs, violence, losing people, burying people, almost losing my own life, and all of it being normal to me. Me thinking to myself, this is my portion. This is my portion. I mean, there's nothing else out there for me, because if there was anything else out there for me, it was too far away for me to even begin to believe that I could obtain it, that I could actually grasp it, that I could actually have it. And so it was me in the house of prayer, me building a relationship with people, that those seeds that were dormant in me, the Lord began to bring forth increase. He began to awaken them within me. That faith that I had in Jesus Christ, the Lord began to start conversations with me about it, about actually making it real. Not just saying I believe in Jesus, but actually me saying yes to living it out. And that's exactly what happened. 20 years old in 2011, I fully surrendered to Jesus Christ. And it was through what the Lord began to do in my life at a house of prayer named Hope City. And all of those seeds that throughout the years of my life have been planted in me. Whether it's somebody stopping me on a street corner, or whether it was that time that my mother took me to church, all of those seeds that were planted, all coming together through what the Lord was beginning to awaken in my life through a house of prayer, so that he can bring forth increase. I actually ended up in a county jail in 2011. facing an armed robbery case. And as I was sitting in the jail cell and sitting in Jackson County Jail, preparing myself to possibly go to prison, I was reasoning within myself about everything that I'm telling you all right now, and about those seeds that was planted, and about this invitation that was being set before me by God to actually surrender. And I remember thinking to myself, even then, I don't think that I can do it, because I know myself. You know, I've been to jail a few times. And even when I think that I'm going to do well, even when I think that I'm going to change, when I get out of jail, what actually end up happening to me is I go right back to my vomit. I go right back to my vomit. So I was thinking to myself, I wish that I can change. I wish that I could surrender to Jesus, but I know myself. I'm being 100. I'm being authentic. I don't want to play with God. And some of you might be sitting in jail right now and you're thinking, I don't want to play with God. I don't want to give myself to God right now in jail if I couldn't give myself to God out in the streets. But right there where you are in jail, this is actually God wanting to have his way in your life. So now is actually the time. Don't feel that you're being boosty. Don't feel that you're playing with God. And don't feel like you got to wait till you get out of jail. But give yourself to God right now. And that's what I did. Sitting in Jackson County Jail, talking to a young man who was headed to prison. I told him my story. I told him that I felt God was inviting me to give my life to him, that I felt God wanted me to do an internship when I got out of jail that I didn't think that I could do, because I would go right back to my vomit. And that young man looked at me. He was for sure heading to prison. And he said, did you pray about it? And I said, yeah, I prayed about it, as far as what I knew prayer to be at that time in my life. He looked at me again. And he said, do you trust God? And when he asked me, did I trust God? Something happened in me that's hard to explain, but a light bulb cut on. And I understood. As if it was supernatural. I just understood exactly what was being said to me. Do you trust God? And from that day, my life have not been the same. I said yes to trust God. The Lord set me on fire that day in Jackson County Jail. And even when I got out of jail, I didn't stop pursuing God, ups and downs, learning how to actually walk and how to actually talk and actually live like a Christian, to actually live like somebody who loved Jesus. But it was that day when that man looked at me and said, do you trust God? It's grace. And I'm sure some of you have a story similar to mine, worse than mine, then you can relate. And the seeds that's been planted in your life. And maybe you feel that you cannot do it and you can't do it without God. But God is wanting to help you. And the question for you is the same as it was for me. Do you trust God? Amen.